Guys, welcome back to the podcast. If you're tuning in today, thank you and happy Sunday. I have a special guest today, the person that does my braces. So I'd like to introduce Dr. Sprowl today to the podcast. Dr. Sprowl, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Good. What were you doing on this Sunday?
You want me to be honest? I was sleeping.
Okay.
I hardly ever get real sleep, so today was a good day to sleep in a little bit.
Okay. Sunday you usually use it to balance out again from your work life?
A little bit. Usually, honestly, Sundays is my day to catch up on admin work and other things I'm supposed to be doing, like meal prepping, shows,
Okay.
and admin work that I don't get to do during the week. Sometimes I do it. Sometimes I'll get up really early on Sunday and do it, so then I have my Sunday for myself.
And just so people know, what's your area of practice?
Sure. So I am a practicing orthodontist here in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay. Where's it located?
Oh, great question. So it's actually off of Independence and Idlewild, and 277. So we're like a few minutes from Uptown. We're really easy to get to from 77, 485, and even 885.
Okay. Is there a reason you chose that location?
So I actually was volunteering at Alexander Youth Network. It's how can I describe it? It's a community organization that was built in like the 1800s.
Okay.
But it has a whole campus. So there's housing for the kids. There's day programs for the kids. Some kids have to stay there. And these are kids with mental and physical abuse that have altered their mental state. So some of them have day programs, which helps with, emotions and understanding and learning. And then there's some kids who, unfortunately, are in our system that have been sent there, whether from their family or from the state.
Is there a reason why you were more oriented going to that organization?
I liked it because when I signed up, I was a lunch buddy. That's what they call it. So you go one day a week and you sit with a kid and you eat lunch with them and you could play with them. And I went because I thought it was a great program. I actually had to do a lot to become a mentor. Okay. A lot of training, a lot of background checks. I even had a sexual course I had to take, and all these things I had to take because when you work with kids, it's very important.
Yeah.
But I loved it. I still donate. Unfortunately, I work too much now to volunteer. But we do donate several times a year. We even donate activities for the kids, ice cream trucks we've done before. So I don't know. It's just a piece of me, a little bit of a heart of me is there.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the kids are great. Just unfortunately, they are a product of some of their circumstances, and that's just one of them. But they're great kids, and I think sometimes they just need a chance. And then they also need consistency, and that was some of the kids' issues, is that they don't consistently see a strong, independent adult.
Okay.
And so that's where the lunch buddy came from. So I did that for about a year and a half. So I used to drive that way every Monday. And so
how long was it?
When I thought about opening an office, my broker, who's amazing, he's amazing.
Okay.
He was like, what areas do you know? I had just moved to Charlotte. I was here maybe a year and a half. I didn't really know a lot about Charlotte. And so I told him that area. And I said, I volunteer right down the street. And he's like, well, do you know there's a high school right there? I said, I noticed that one time. And then he's telling me about other areas. And I said, I don't know. I got a feeling, right?
Yeah.
It just kind of went off a feeling.
Okay.
And so he goes into the area and he finds out that they're building some buildings over there. So
that's how you ended up there.
That's how I ended up there, just from volunteering over there. I didn't know nothing about the area. I didn't know if it was a good area, a bad area. I didn't know nothing about it.
Was it something that you were constantly think about, where you were going to put your practice? Because it kind of seems to me kind of like the law of attraction.
Yeah.
You were in the right place, had the right feelings to be there.
Well, initially when I was thinking about opening a practice, I actually thought about NOTA because I like that area.
Okay.
So
it's super expensive.
Super expensive. And actually there was no buildings for me to have a building there.
Okay.
So I used to live in Cleveland, and it reminds me a lot of Cleveland because I used to live in an area where you could just walk out and you go to the grocery and you go to the movies. And so Noda reminds me of that area. And I was like, I really liked that area. It just had a good energy to it. But when I used to drive around, I was like, there's no buildings here. There's no land here, and there's no buildings for me to have a practice here. So maybe this is not the right time for this. And when I met the broker, he confirmed it, like, yeah, there's not much over there for you to open a business. And some of the buildings that are available, I wouldn't put a dental office there. He was very, very honest with me. So,
okay.
Yeah, opening my practice, a lot of it was just law of attraction. I just got a feeling. And I was just telling a friend last week, he's thinking about opening a practice, and he asked me those same things. And I said, I just went with my gut feeling. I said, I didn't think too deep about it. Mm-hmm. I said, I just was like, I like you. I trust you. Okay. Like that. And he's like, really? I was like, yeah. I said, I didn't put too much about it. I said, if I got a bad vibe, I just didn't go with it.
Was the whole process like for you to like get in there? What's that like? What's that process like?
So my building was brand new.
Okay.
Right. And so North Carolina, you have to have 30% occupancy before they can start building the building. So I had to say yes before they even broke ground on the building.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a big commitment.
That's a big commitment, and it's for 10 years. So I think I signed the lease or the contract for the lease in like September of 2018, and I didn't actually open the practice until November of 2019. It was almost a year, a little over a year before from signing it, for them building the shell. That's what they call it, the shell.
Okay.
And then my contractor came in and upfitted the building, upfitted my suite, I should say.
For your needs.
Right, for whatever business I was having.
Okay.
Now there's a bank next door to me, and so with me and the bank, we were 30% occupancy. So they really needed me to go ahead and
sign the papers,
and
then commit to
But when
that.
I heard it was a bank next door, I said, "Oh, that's a good feeling," because no one opens a bank in a really bad area. Because remember, I said I don't really know the area. But everyone said this is a really great area. I had absolutely no idea. It's just a feeling that I got. I thought it was a good area because there's a lot of houses and there's a lot of schools in that area, so which says community, right?
Yeah.
But when I heard the bank was opening next door, I said, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do that.
And that area, like, since you haven't lived in Charlotte, East Charlotte has changed so much.
Yeah.
That now, like, I look at it and it's a lot
different. Yeah. And what's funny is when we first opened, I want to say the first year we opened, everyone that came over there was like, I went to East Meck High School and none of this was here.
Yeah.
Everyone always told us that. Even my dental rep, who I still use now, who helped upfit the office and stuff. Upfit means buy the chairs and all that stuff, like basically give me the supplies. He was East Meck. And so he would say it all the time. Everyone that would come over there, even when it was just a shell and it's just beams up, they would all say the same thing, like, it's changed so much over here. But Charlotte's a very growing city. And now that I've been here 5 years, I'm like, yeah, it has changed a lot just in that area. Because now we have a Starbucks, we have a Five Guys, we have a couple of nail shops, a medical place. There's a brewery over there.
Yeah.
It's come a long way. And I think they're doing more and more, so.
Yeah, and it's so weird that you trusted that, hey, I have this feeling.
I had no idea. And I was like, this is so random to have a McDonald's right here, because that McDonald's has been there for I don't know how long, but way before my business was there. So I always thought it was really random to have a McDonald's just right there, you know. But now it makes sense. It makes sense. So, yeah, I'm happy with where we are and the law of attraction and what it brought. It brought a lot of good energy, to be honest. I didn't have any major hiccups or anything that's like really, really detrimental or was like, oh my God, when I was opening the practice. It was actually, they made it really easy for me.
And for your plan, so you said that you signed papers in 2018. Then how long was the journey before you even thought about that, or where did that come from?
Like from opening a practice?
Yeah.
So, let's see. So I graduated orthodontic residency in December 2013. So it'll be 10 years in December. It's crazy.
Wow.
Okay. And so,
how long is that course, by the way?
The course is 2.5 or 3 years. It's a lot of money. So I'll back up a little bit. So I went to dental school in Nashville, Meharry Medical College. And then I decided to do a 1-year residency because I wasn't sure if I wanted to do orthodontics. So I moved to DC and I did a 1-year residency. Okay. And at the end of the residency, I decided, I think I'm ready to apply to orthodontic residency. Orthodontic residency is one of the hardest residencies to get into in the specialties of dentistry. That and oral surgery.
How come?
I think it's high demand. So people think it's easy, but it's really not easy. So people think it's easy, and people like to do easy stuff.
Okay.
And so, which means that you got to have the best grades, the best networking, the best personality, the best research, the best of everything. You got to be the best of the best of your class in order to probably given an opportunity to attend the school. Oral surgery is the same, but oral surgery is a lot of work. So it's two opposites. Oral surgeons, they're the surgeons. So they're looked at. It's really great. They are great. They do a lot of great things. So we're two opposites, but we're both top of the game in our class in order to be accepted into those programs. Now, that doesn't take away from any other specialty. Those are just the two hardest ones to really get into. And it's not as many programs. And so you have more people applying and less programs. It makes it really hard to get in.
Okay.
So that's when I decided, and you got to have money to go to the schools and interview and stuff. And so when I graduated dental school, I said, I can't really afford this. So I decided to do a residency for a year and make sure it's something I really wanted to do and pursue. What
were you stuck in between with? What did you, you said you had decided to take that road? I decided to apply.
Okay. I don't even mean you get in, just apply. So apply, you got to do all these applications and stuff, just like you do to get in college, just like you do to get in dental school. It's probably actually a little bit more rigorous. But to decide to apply in itself is a big task because every school may require different requirements after the major application that you do. Okay. It's a cost to do the applications. It's a cost to submit the other things that the schools may require. And then if you're lucky enough to get an interview, you got to pay for your flight, your hotel, and all those things to get to the interviews. And so that's why I say I decided to apply because that's a commitment within itself. I probably, in that interview season is usually from like September to December or September to November, because you usually find out in December if you've been offered an opportunity to attend the program or not. Wow. So it's called match. And so how it works, and not to get too detailed, if I choose you as number one, you choose me as number one, I go there. If my number one didn't choose me, but my number two did, I'll go there. But if I chose these schools and these schools didn't choose me, I don't match, which means I don't go to a program. Some schools may have one or two open spots and they may do an interview after the fact. I was lucky. I interviewed at a school that didn't participate in that program of the matching. So they basically got ahead of the game and can offer opportunity before that system came out, which is in December. So I actually went to University of Nevada, Las Vegas. So I've moved a lot to pursue my dreams. That's what I'm getting at. So me deciding to apply is all of those things in one. That's just deciding, okay, well, what's the plan if I don't get in? You always got to have a plan. That's my thought, is always have a plan. So I was like, well, I'll continue practicing as a dentist because that's what I did for that year while I was interviewing for residencies. So I was very blessed and lucky to be accepted into a program my first year that I applied. So I went from practicing dentistry and working on little kids every day to pursuing my dream as an orthodontist. So I did that program for almost 3 years. And then I moved to Cleveland, Ohio, because I wanted to live back east. I was on the West Coast for 3 years. I'm from Atlanta. West Coast is great, but it's not like the East Coast if you're from the East Coast. So I wanted to live back east. So I moved to Cleveland for 3 years. And I never, ever wanted to open a practice. Never. I said, I will be a partner in one. I'll work in one, but I don't want to own one.
Why?
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of stress. And depending on the boss that you have is what you see. And so working in a kid office, and that was a chain, so you don't really see the boss or any of those things. I just didn't get a vibe like, this is what I want. I want to pick the color of the walls, and I want to make sure this is how we're going to advertise. I didn't want to do any of those things. So I worked for a practice in Cleveland, great practice. And he kind of gave us a little bit of segue into what his life is like, because he allowed us or gave us opportunities to see admin things that is done behind the scenes besides seeing patients.
That's great.
Which is great, seeing patients. And so I learned some things about the business. I learned a lot from hands-on doing it now. But some things about the business to the point where it sparked the interest in me to want to open a practice. And so when I moved from Cleveland, I knew that I wanted to open a practice. I just wasn't sure when. And so I was working for, I was an associate of practice here in Charlotte. And one day I just woke up and was like, I think it's time for me to go ahead and start
But what do you think changed in you that you said before you were like, well, no, because it's too much stress, the commitment, the responsibility?
I think it was my boss, to be honest, because he made it look so easy, and he's a very cool, calm, collective kind of guy. Still is. He still practices. Very cool, charismatic, just real easygoing kind of guy. And he's also very honest with you. And he's like, it's a lot of work, you know. I was like, yeah, but I think I could do it, you know. But he just sparked that interest in me. I just was like, yeah, I want to practice. And I got a name, and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Like I said, I go off of the feel and the vibe, and I said it. You say one thing, but are you gonna do it? So then, when I started to do it, I was like, okay. And I just felt like good people came into my life that helped me push that ball. Because I met the banker. The banker introduced me to the broker. The broker introduced me to the contractor. The contractor introduced me to the sign guy. I mean, it was just like,
wow,
really great. And everyone I got was like great energy. They were like, Alyssa, you're going to do great. You know, I could text them, and I could text my sign guy right now, the guy who made my sign, and he would respond. Like, that is great.
Yes.
I could probably text my contractor now, and it's been 3.5 years. I haven't seen him since. He would probably text me back. You know, it was just great vibes, just great energy, and it just seemed like people really, truly believed in not just opening a practice, because of course they make money from opening practices.
Yeah.
But I just felt like they really believed in the dream of mine.
Yeah.
And when you have a dream, you know, you keep it to yourself a lot. And so to now you're broadcasting it to people you don't even know, and to see people believe when I'm not sure if I really truly believe all the way in myself was great. Because, I mean, everyone has a doubt of something, you know. So that
imposter
really
syndrome.
Yeah. You're like, I want to do this. Do I really want to do this? I mean, because it's okay to like, yeah. And I don't think a lot of entrepreneurs say that they were like, am I really sure about this? But you're not sure until the door's open. And so the door is open, and it's been shooting ever since. So
and for example, since what other than just offering like orthodontic services, what else did you want to bring to the table? Like, was it the feeling of like, hey, this is like a community, or because you've worked with a lot of organizations, so I feel like you have that in you.
So I wanted to bring an office that just represents me, which is, I believe in great customer service. That's just number one. I believe in caring for the patient completely, meaning like, I'm not just your orthodontist. I mean, I'm your orthodontist, but somewhat your friend, you know. I care about you. I care about what's going on. I want to make sure you're happy. That's a big thing for me in my practice. I want to make sure you're happy. And if we got to keep your braces on 6 months longer because you're not happy, that's perfectly fine with me. There's no pressure, no anything.
Okay.
I opened the practice because I wanted somewhere that has great customer service, but that's also part of the community. So sometimes when you're an associate, you can have ideas, but you don't always get to execute those ideas, because you got to get your bosses to believe in the thought or the idea that you have. And everyone doesn't always believe in the same thought or idea or see the bigger picture. And so opening a practice where I can meet in the community, that's what I do sometimes on the weekends. I'm in the community, I can volunteer, we can sponsor events for kids, we can do all these things. I don't have to get approval from someone to say, nah, we're not doing that, or okay, we're gonna do that. You know, sometimes I just do it, and it's not patient-based. It's really just being out there in the community, because that's what I always did before I opened a practice. And so my practice really just lives daily on the foundation of who I am. I'm friendly, I'm fun, I like to have fun while I work, but I also work hard, and then I like to give back to my community. And so I think my practice just executes the things that I truly believe in.
Are you like so keen on giving back to your community because of like how you grew up, or
you know, I don't know how I got like this, because my mom is a teacher, my dad was an engineer, he's retired since. So I definitely came from a 2-parent household where they're both college educated. I didn't really volunteer a lot when I was a teen. It really started in college.
Okay.
And then just from there, even when I moved to Nashville, I remember helping with Habitat for Humanity. And then when I went to orthodontic residency, I joined a girls-based organization in Las Vegas. And just from there, I've always volunteered, but I don't know, it's something that warms my heart to help others, to pay it forward. That's what it is. It's not anything about how I grew up or something that affected me. In order for me to say I'm going to do this, it just warms my heart, and I just do things that feels good and that make others feel good.
Okay. And how was that mentorship for women, or like what did you have to do?
That was cool. So Las Vegas has a very high sex trafficking rate.
Wow.
So I worked with the organization that was founded by a young lady, wonderful young lady, who decided to form an organization for young girls to prevent them from sex trafficking and getting into a different lifestyle. So we mentored with them. We met with them every Saturday for a couple of hours just to discuss things. Some were court appointed to the organization and some were voluntary. But basically we're helping, troubled girls to see the light at the end of the tunnel and see this is not always life. Vegas life's a little different, a little harder than other cities probably. And I think it's just more aware there than other cities. I know other cities have sex trafficking, but I think it's just a higher rate there just because of the lifestyle of the casinos and that type of lifestyle. So it was really, really great working with those ladies. Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, no, and it's and that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm always like, why are people so nice? And but it's always so it's so hard to find authentic people. And
when your podcast gets bigger and bigger, you're going to see it more and more. And some people have good motives. Some people have ulterior motives. And unfortunately, if you're a good person, I feel like you attract both.
Really?
You attract it. Like, you just attract it. It's in you. And people see good, or they can see a way to, and I don't want to say use you, but to get whatever they're trying to get. And unfortunately, as a good person, you're going to do regardless. Some people can do, and some people will be great. I shouldn't say do, but some people will be great, and then some people may use you, or maybe a manipulation or something like that. As you grow into your business, you'll probably see that more. Not to say that that person is bad, but maybe their intentions are bad. Yeah. But unfortunately, if you're a good person, you're just going to do good. And if it's a good outcome, it's a good outcome. If it's a bad outcome, definitely learn from it and move on. But try not to let it change you, because it could try to change you.
Okay. And I feel like I'm really tested all the time. Yeah. I'm like whether to choose good or bad. So I can definitely feel that, because the same way that I get that pleasure out of helping people, there are also bad people trying to change that mindset. I'm like, hey, don't think like that.
Don't think like that. Yeah. And that gets hard. But I will say, if those people are like in your tight network of friends, I probably wouldn't discuss certain things with them. I'm just being honest, because you want positivity. You want someone that's going to pour into you, because if you're in a negative spot, it's going to bring everything down. And so everything that you're trying to build, all of your hopes, your dreams, your livelihood, others' livelihoods, are all into your emotional state, your mental state a lot. And so if you're always around people who are negative, like, oh, that's not going to work, I wouldn't do that, you're doing too much, you da-da-da-da, blah, 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 pop, ba-di-da, pop, 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 all the time, we don't need to hear that, because our mind is always going all the time anyway. And only an entrepreneur is going to know that. It's really easy to say a lot of things when you're not the CEO, you're not the housekeeper, you're not the orderer, you're not the carpet guy, you're not the fixer, I have so many plates spinning every day. Yes. It's so easy to critique when you're not having to hold all those plates. For example, I just bought a house. I'm like, oh yeah, I bought a house. But then I'm like, oh crap, I bought a house, because I know it's things I got to fix in the house. And so I bring my mom, and I bring her to the house. Moms, yeah. And she had so much to say. It was overwhelmingly annoying. And not that she's annoying, because she was being a mom and I know they care. And the next day she calmed down. It was better. But the first day, it was just so much because I was so excited. And I felt like she took a pen, the biggest pen, and just popped that bubble. And I was like, oh, and I felt deflated. But you got to realize that in the grand scheme of things, it's your dream and it's what you want. And so if it's not working into those plates of how you want it to spin, then it's not good for you. And I am big on vibes. I am big on my intuition. And sometimes I just have ideas. And every idea is not meant to be shared with everyone because everyone's viewpoint is different. And if you have a friend or a confidant who doesn't always see how you want this dream, or doesn't want to try it, or just want to always kind of throw a little salt on it, I probably wouldn't share all those things with them. And not to say that they're not a good friend. It's just we don't see eye to eye on those things. And that's okay. Everyone's not going to see the same dream or have the same goals or see the same vision as you, but you're a visionary in your own right. Everyone is. And so long as you see your vision and you execute it to the best that you can, that's the greatest you can do. But it's always going to be someone that has something to say. And if you always listen to everything someone has to say, you will never do it.
And I think that goes hand in hand with like kind of like your creativity. It's like it comes from somewhere.
It comes from somewhere, and sometimes you're like, I just gotta let it out.
Yeah.
Right? Like I commend artists because I'm like, how do you just like come up with this stuff, you know? But I'm sure it's someone who was like, nah, you shouldn't be an artist. My artists don't make no money, you know. But you do amazing work, and you make people feel a way that they probably wouldn't have felt before they saw your artwork, right? But then if you never do it, think how much the world is suffering from that, you know?
I've always thought about that, kind of like we're all interconnected, but we can't ever be the same just because every individual holds within himself a power that they have to offer to the world.
Right.
Whether you think it's bad or not, that's your perception of how your creativity is fighting against theirs.
Right. I totally agree. I will say some people do have just a sense of more negative power than others. Not everyone. But you have to see it for what it is. And if you're a really good person, sometimes you always want to see past those smoke and mirrors, you know?
Yeah.
But sometimes just see it for what it is. Because when you're trying to grow something, it's so fun. But then when you're in it and you're making it move and making it work, that's when I felt like more negative things came at me. And I look at those as challenges, and just like you said, the power, but that makes you stronger who you are. So everyone has a gift, everyone has a purpose. Some people are here to test you, and you don't even realize it until you're out of those smoke and mirrors, and now you can see that finish line. But if you get hung up on all of that, you'll never, ever see the light at the end of that tunnel. You'll never see that finish line. So for me, I always see a finish line when I'm trying to get to something, and then I see it move. And I'm trying to get to it, and then it moves. That's what happens with me. It's like I'm running this long marathon, and it's going to be all kind of things thrown at you. Rain, storms, you know, lightning, tsunamis, you know, all these things. But you have to see that end goal. You have to see the purpose and the vision that you had when you were just in your room and you're just writing down your thoughts. You got to still see that. You still have to live on that, and you still have to kind of keep that at your core. Because if you get lost in all the sauce of the day to day, you won't be able to progress forward.
And I think, like, for example, the suffering or the stressing moments, like, are there to test you, but I think one can also appreciate those because they are part of the journey. Without it,
they're part of the journey.
You wouldn't be able to weigh what's good, or
you wouldn't, and it'll always be peaches and cream all the time. But that's not life. Life is not always, you know, ice cream with, you know, toppings. It's not always like that. Sometimes it's liver.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's things you don't want to eat, but sometimes you got to eat it in order to progress and move forward. One of my friends did tell me, like, sometimes I'll just say all the things I have to do out loud. Like right now I bought a house. So I'm telling my friend this morning, like, all this stuff. She said, yeah, but you know, you don't have to do it all today. And I'm like, I know.
Yeah.
But I remember when I was opening the practice and I'm like, yeah, I got to get a website made and I need to pick a color logo and I need to do, you know, just talking. She's like, don't forget to enjoy the journey. And that stuck with me and it sticks with me every day. It's like, oh, these things are happening, but don't forget, listen, this is going to build you for the next time something can happen. Sometime a rock could be thrown at you. That doesn't mean I have to always catch it. And I can anticipate that rock coming, so maybe I can avoid it altogether. Yeah. You know, but don't forget to enjoy the journey. that was something that stuck. And I don't even know if she realizes that she told me that one time. And now I say it all the time.
Yeah.
That had to be like 4.5 years ago. She probably don't even realize she told me that. But don't forget to enjoy the journey, because it's going to be good and it's going to be bad. It's just the way of life. 50% happy, 50% sad. But you got to overcome the sad in order to get that 100% happy.
Yeah, and it's crazy enough that people don't know the impact they have on us until like later that you tell them.
Yeah, because I didn't want to be a dentist. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was in college. I was a biology major, and so I was going into my senior year, and I asked one of my big sisters, like, well, we got the same major, so what are you doing? And she's like, I'm going to dental school. And I was like, oh, I never thought about dental school. I said, but I don't know anything about dentistry. And she's like, it's okay. You'll learn. They're going to teach you. And I was like, oh, okay. So I look into it just a little bit. That was before Google became Google.
Okay.
And I go shadow at a dentist's office, and I took the DAT. And I make it sound easy. It was definitely more than that. But I took the DAT, which is the dental admissions testing. I did horrible in it. But I was graciously enough offered a position to attend dental school. And I told her that because she came to visit maybe like 4 years ago before I opened the practice. And I was like, you're the reason why I went to dental school. And she's like, I didn't know that. I said, yeah, I never, ever, ever thought about dental school until I had that conversation with you. And it was the quickest 2-minute conversation. I still remember it. And she was like, I had no idea. And she's practicing in Florida, amazing practice in Florida. I was like, yeah. I was like, you're the whole reason, the whole entire reason I went to dental school. I probably owe you money. Yeah, probably.
Oh my God.
But she doesn't know, but it is, and that's why I try to be good, because you don't know how you affect people. You don't know what's going on in people's lives, and sometimes you have to have empathy. Now, that's not to say that I'm perfect. No one's perfect.
Yeah.
Sometimes we can fall into the emotions of how we're feeling, but overall, if you're a good person, good things are going to come to you. It's just natural. But you also have to take into empathy, and when you add workers or your staff into it, they're all going through things just like you.
Yeah.
And I will say sometimes when you have staff, they forget that you're a person and that you're human. And my friend just told me the other day, some of my friends are business owners, and that's great. We all do different businesses. And actually, some of my closest friends are business owners, and none of them are women. They're all men. And we were talking the other day, and he just randomly said, when you're the boss, you're the bad guy. And I said, I know, but I'm such a nice person. He's like, yeah, that don't matter. And I was like, I could see that. I said, because, we're the boss. I said, but we have to be firm sometimes, because my life, my dreams is tied into your daily life, that how you provide for your family and how you keep a roof over your head and drive the car that you drive. So we take those things into account every day.
Yes.
It's a big weight on us that we're up for the challenge, but we just have to have the support, and we have to make sure we have that.
Leadership is one of those things that in business, I'm like, what? You're not ready for.
You're never ready, and no one can prepare you, but you just have to make sure that you're learning from the lessons that is thrown at you. Don't harbor on it too long, but learn from it. And someone did tell me that they always suggest, speaking to a therapist, especially when you're in business and you're a leader. Okay. Because you got to have somewhere to spew it all out, right?
Yeah.
So, the frustration, the woes, the goods, the bads, just the day-to-day, because sometimes it can be overwhelming for your family, your friends, especially if they don't understand. And if you're not really into therapy, but everyone should be, I think it's so important. At least have someone that you can confide in and that you feel comfortable with, just spewing it out. Because sometimes just letting it out allows you to take a woosah a little bit.
Yeah. And it might sound crazy to people, but for me, like, I wasn't really brought up on like the therapist mindset just because culturally.
Yeah, culture.
I think my parents fought their battles alone.
Thanks.
Obviously, there's a backdrop to that. There's a bad part of it because I mean, I bet our parents hold so many struggles within their own minds that it's kind of sad to see.
Yeah.
Because you see the fight every day. But something I really used to help me was like talk to myself, kind of like my whenever like I'm praying or like talking to God, I'm like, well, God, I'm going through this. I'm suffering through this. I had a really bad day today, which as an entrepreneur, I feel like all of us feel. At the end of the day, you just feel like your battery is like 0%.
Zero all the time.
And you're like, I gotta do this again tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yes, sir. Bright and early.
But then people, like, other people get to, like, look up to you. Like, they're like, wow, like, I want to be like him. I want to be like them.
Right.
And I think that's also, like, one part that you can't overlook because you're inspiring the next generation.
But it's also based on why you're doing it. So some people get into things to make money, and that's perfectly fine. And then there's some people that just want to fulfill that dream, like me. I wanted a place where people feel comfortable and inviting, and I also giving a great service. I wanted to make people feel comfortable and important.
Okay.
Sometimes when you go to the dentist or the doctor, you're like, oh, okay.
Health insurance.
I mean, that's how I feel sometimes. And yeah, all the time, sometimes. Or my concerns are like, oh, okay. Or, hey, you da-da-da. Or they forget to call my name back, and I'm sitting there 45. Oh, okay. Just not a big deal, not a big deal, not a big deal. And as I went through life, I'm like, yo, it's like I don't matter. I don't matter. I'm just looked over. I'm looked past. I'm not even giving I'm sorry. Like, no, it's not okay that you wait. I waited 45 minutes in the back for my doctor, and now you guys are telling me he's not here today. That's not okay. You know, and I know things happen, but it's a way to handle things.
Yes.
You know, but everyone doesn't have the same thought of why they're doing something. So some people don't want to be looked upon as a mentor or an influencer or someone that people look up to. Some people don't. Some people just really just want to do their craft. I forgot. I don't know if it was Nicki Minaj. Somebody said it before, and I was like, that's so true. And I was like, you naturally just become that. And that's another layer to all of the things that you are is I'm also, people look up to me. And some people can't, out of all the pressure they can handle, they can't handle that one. It's like, I don't want people to look up to me. You know? But I think it's great. I don't look at myself as like, you know, this big mentor or this big person to know. I just am who I am. And I try to do good. And it works out for me.
But by doing good, then like that's what you'll receive too.
That's what you'll receive. I mean, that's what overall. It's gonna be some fires in there always, and that's the part. As an entrepreneur, no one ever talks about. They always make it seem like it's just so easy, and I make all this money, and blah blah blah. You know, my life is so great. You know, but anyone that works that hard always gonna have woes. Always gonna have woes. As
a Black woman, like in the entrepreneur world of like orthodontics, like is there some advantages or disadvantages that you have faced or have personally seen? I mean these can be disadvantages kind of like also even from like the backup of your family.
Absolutely. I mean, I'll say this as a person of color, I think that's just from birth. We've always had something that we notice we're treated a little differently, or we're looked at a little differently, or we're spoke to a little differently. And that's just from birth. Sometimes we don't even notice it because we're so trained that that's what it is. And that's the sad part. But unfortunately, it is what it is. I do think we're going into a world where that's going to change. Probably by the time I'm an old lady, but I'm only 25. Probably maybe I'm thinking in the next 30 or 40 years, that's going to be so different. And our generations of kids and grandkids and great-grandkids, they won't have to say what you understand me saying and what I just said. Yeah. So I went to a historically Black college and university, which means it's 99% Black probably. Okay. My dental school was predominantly Black. Where I felt the most different was at my residency in Vegas. Not Vegas itself. It's just that I was the only African American in my program. I didn't see anyone that looked like me unless it was a patient or one of the crew members, like someone in the background, maybe an admin person or something like that. So any of my professors, they were all majority older white men, which is no problem with that. Yeah, they just didn't look like me. Yes. I was also from the South. Most of them are from the West Coast, so they looked at me differently because of the way that I spoke. Okay. They would make fun of my accents, you know, and little things like that. So it's like, okay, I'm from the South. I'm African American. I think they just didn't know how to handle me, and sometimes they would talk to me already aggressively. Because I think they thought I was going to be like, first of all, you know, and I would just say, okay. I wasn't, and then I think they learned me after that because they never really approached me like that after.
Yeah. But I mean, it's still weird. It's still weird that people think you're gonna act aggressively.
I mean, some of the things I would hear when I was there, and I'm not a really super aggressive person. Exactly. If I get a little snappy, it's probably because all right, now this is my limit, you know.
Yep.
But some of the things I would hear, I had never heard before. Some of the stigmatisms of being African American or being an African American woman, I had never heard before. And my classmates, we were the most diverse class, I think, because I was African American. My BFF was Mexican.
Okay.
The other resident was Vietnamese, and then we had a white guy, but he was adopted. So it was just very interesting. And his wife's from Indonesia. So we were very interesting. And when I first met that white guy, he asked me something, and I was just like, but after that, I learned that's him. And so, not that he's trying to be offensive, he's trying to be politically correct. And so, I think I've always been somewhere where it's okay that I'm the only. When I go to orthodontic CE courses, usually I'm the only African American woman.
Really?
It's starting to be more women in orthodontics, but usually I'm probably one of the only African American women. Probably woman of color, and I'm including Latino, maybe Asian in that as well. But I hate to say it, but I'm used to it, and I know it's going to change. I don't let that defeat me. I don't let that make me feel any kind of way. I'm okay. When I practice, sometimes they do say, "Oh, you're the orthodontist," and I'm okay with that too, because I take it as I look young. But
hey, that's good. That's good.
I take it as I look young. But when I worked for my boss in Cleveland, they would request him sometimes, and they didn't want to see me. Not because I wasn't nice. They just was nervous because I'm a younger woman versus an older man, and they may see him as, you know, he has more experience, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And I could have been better. I could have been worse, but they don't know. They just, you know, judging from that. And unfortunately, in a society, it just is what it is, and I get it. I've never went to a doctor and was like, "Oh, I don't want to see them because of da-da-da." I base people off of how they make me feel. And so, I don't want to see that lady tomorrow. I felt like she didn't care about me, you know. Yeah. In my practice, I have had times where I can tell and I can sense from the person that they're probably not going to bring their kid back. I don't think they were expecting an African-American woman or a young African-American woman. And I can just tell. But that's okay, because I always want people to feel comfortable and feel happy.
Yes.
And especially with orthodontics, because you're investing 2.5, 3 years of your life. It's like a marriage, and I want you to feel comfortable. So if you don't feel comfortable with me working on your kid or any of my staff working on your kid, I'm perfectly okay with that, because in the end, you have to be comfortable where you're spending your money, you know?
Yes.
But I don't harbor on that. And honestly, it'd be like one of the last things of my day I think about is, she looked at me really weird, But I remember when we first opened, a lady came, and Fridays we dress down. So we wear t-shirts and jeans, and we have hats. And this is when we first opened. And I wore a hat because I was like, hey, it's my practice. I'm going to wear a hat. I'm wearing a hat.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't do it now. And I actually don't do it now because of this.
Okay.
When I walked up to the parent, she looked at me, and I will never forget the look. She looked at me. She went back. She looked up and down. And then I'm like, hi, I'm Dr. Such and Such. And her whole whew, as if she's seen a ghost. And I don't know if it's because of how I was dressed, how I look. I don't know. And so I walked around the practice, because the practice is nice. It's a nice, quaint practice. And I walk her around so maybe she'll feel a little comfortable, because I felt the energy, and she never calmed down. Even when we went over pricing, when I went over what's wrong with her son's teeth, et cetera, she just stared at me. And I was like, okay. I never ever saw her again. I knew it. I was like, I'm not going to see that lady again.
And in those situations, you just have to, as a business owner, you have to be cool, calm, collected, but you do feel something.
I felt the energy, and I was like, maybe it's my hat. Maybe I'm dressed too far down. I don't know. I was like, but I'll never know. I'll never know exactly what it was, but I've never worn a hat to work anymore. It was just a little baseball cap, guys, with the logo on it. But I was like, maybe that was unprofessional for her, and maybe that's the vibe, and you just never know. Maybe she wasn't having a good day, but she never came back. And that's been 3 years. I never saw them again. And I understand, and I get it. And like I said, all the things that happen in my day, that's the last thing that I'm like, oh yeah, and then this lady looked at me strange today.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm okay. Because even when I was practicing dentistry, even from someone that was the same race as me, an older man might say, you're taking out my teeth? Yeah, I'm taking out your teeth. I'm going to get it out of there too. You know, because they see you as a smaller, petite female, and that's fine. But I do think being a woman and being of African-American race, a little bit of a double hitter when it comes to perception and judgment. But I don't look at it any kind of way. I look at it as a challenge. And if you don't feel comfortable, like I said, you are more than willing. It's okay, because I want to feel comfortable too. And I don't want to feel like I got to fight you and fight for you to see things differently, you know, because I am who I am. And if you don't see that, then you're more than welcome. So.
No, but I'm glad then you started up your practice, because then we start like evolving as a community. I feel like I said, then you can also be like a path setter for other women of color to like enter the field, because it's mostly truthfully, it's mostly dominated by white people. So
it's coming. And my friend, he's Mexican. He was the first of his family, I think, to graduate college. I think. He met a wife. She's a pediatric dentist. She's Mexican. That was his goal, was to marry
a Mexican woman.
Yes,
okay,
that was his goal. You know, and he's progressing so well. And I think in his family, that's such a big thing. First of all, he graduated college, then he graduated dental school, like that's, and then he married another doctor. Like that's a big thing for his family.
Yeah.
And I think it's coming. I think it's just coming in droves. Everything happens for a reason, and unfortunately, some things bad happened in our country. But I do think that, 30, 40 years from now, hopefully the next generation of young people can change that narrative.
And that's exactly what I'm trying to do, like for the podcast. Like anyone listening into it, like, never be afraid to be the only one, I think, in that space.
It's okay to be the only one. I've been the only one all the time. I mean, I grew up in a house with 3 brothers, so I was always the only girl. I guess it started from birth.
Okay.
Because I was just talking to someone, and they're like, I have a girl, and she's the only girl. Can you give her some pointers? I said, she fine. I promise you. I said, she's actually going to be more comfortable than you think she is being around females and things like that. I said, because we just adapt, because we're used to being the only one. I said, we're good adapters.
Yeah.
But that makes you who you are, and it makes you stronger, and makes you more determined and dedicated to what you want to do. So. No.
And Dr. Sprowl, I really appreciate all your words. I feel like it's also a good way to like empower people, and like that's what I like too.
I always say, do what makes you happy. Do what you want to do. Long as it's good for people, it's not going to harm anyone, it's not going to take advantage of anyone, do it. Try it. See what happens. You never know what can happen. Now, financially, can you do it? That's another question. But
there's a lot more help now.
There's a lot more help. There's so much more wealth with Google. I talk about Google all the time. I say, when I went to dental school, if Google was where it was now, I probably wouldn't have went to dental school. I would have been like, wait a minute, I got to do what? Because it's so many tests. It's so many big hurdles to jump over to get to that finish line. You're like, good God. But I'm happy for my journey. I'm happy for where it went. I'm happy for my friend who told me about it. So, I'm happy. It is other things I would love to do and will do in a matter, in time's sake. But I love being an orthodontist. I enjoy it. I enjoy the young kids. I enjoy the old. We do have older patients as well. We do have a lot of adults. I enjoy them. I enjoy their parents. Everyone just seems to, and it's a little humbling, to be honest, when people like, I came all the way from Huntersville to see you. I'd be like, whew. That is humbling for me.
Really? Why?
Oh, absolutely. Or someone says they drove from Statesville. I have a lady that drives from Asheville.
Asheville is like
she
2
drives
hours
from like
away.
Asheville or somewhere kind of far. It's like 2 hours. And I always say, we will always see her. I don't care if she's late. We will always make accommodations for her. I don't care. Because she drives 2 hours to come see us every 6 weeks,
Yes.
Very humbling, because you're like, oh my God. I don't know how to describe it. You're just like, for me, not for me, but for us, you're like, oh my gosh, that's just so humbling.
Yeah.
And it's just so endearing that it takes you aback. You really don't have words for it. But you're like, thank you. Like, wow, thank you. That's all you can say is thank you. I always say, oh my gosh, every time. But it is very humbling and most appreciated that someone can see who we are and what we're about.
And other than aesthetic reasons, why do we have to get like orthodontic help?
You just crowding. I mean, although you guys may look at it as aesthetics, crowding can lead to more periodontal issues, leads to more cavities because you can't get in there and floss because your teeth are so tight together. Can lead to periodontal issues, bite issues, recession, bone loss. It can lead to a lot of things. Orthodontics is very important for function, mastication, which is eating. It's just very important.
What about the jaw? Like,
sometimes it can be related to TMJ. You'll hear people talk about TMJ, or TMD, excuse me. TMJ is actually the joint, but the joint that you open and close, you can get popping and clicking. Sometimes it could be from your bite. I always tell patients it can make it better, and sometimes it can make it worse. It depends on what's the reasoning for the issues up here. Some people clench where they'll have muscle tightness here all the time, and that's mostly because could be from a bite issue, could be from clenching or grinding because they're trying to fix something subconsciously they don't realize, and then we get braces and it's like, oh. Now everyone's not like that, but some patients are.
Because I think I had TMJ, like my jaw would always pop.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't pop anymore.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, but I don't know why. I was like, is it orthodontics?
It could be. Some people have serious bite issues that we have to do braces in conjunction with oral surgery. Sometimes we do full mouth rehabilitation where, say you got in an accident, your teeth knocked out. Now we got to get ortho involved. We get oral surgery involved. Okay. We get your general dentist involved. Sometimes the periodontist involved. So we get a lot of people in a lot of different departments involved in order to give you the smile that you're looking for. We have a patient now. He got in a really bad accident. Luckily, he's a dental assistant, so he gets it already. He already knew the steps he would have to take. But your smile is so important, and people don't talk about it enough, but we know it is. Because if you see someone, just an example, hey, he could look like Morris Chestnut, and then he smiles, and you're like, oh. Your smile is so important. Besides your face, that's the second thing people see a lot of times, and that adds to the beauty of who you are, and it shows who you are inside and out. And for someone not to smile, it's always like because they're ashamed or a little insecure of it. When there's so many good things about your smile, it shows who you are. Like, it brightens up the day, it brightens up who you are, it just exemplifies you. And it's a silent way to introduce yourself. And I used to be one of those people where I didn't smile because I was a little insecure about it. And when I got braces, I mean, you couldn't tell me nothing. Okay,
really?
I was like, I'm smiling for the world because I wouldn't really smile that much because I was a little insecure about it.
Yeah.
But braces, aesthetically, it makes you look better. Technically, but it's about who you change as a person because of that confidence that you have now. That's really what it is. That's what makes you really beautiful. I'm happy for my orthodontist. Blessing to the world.
Yeah, because so therefore not only kids are like supposed to like get orthodontics. Maybe that's a misconception, right?
That's definitely a misconception. I think I mean, if you were a kid and you didn't get it, or you did get them and you didn't do what you're supposed to do at the end with your retainers, that's how you'll probably have them again as an adult. Some adults didn't get them as a kid, so then you'll have them as an adult. Or let's say like an accident, or we had to get some teeth pulled, or your crowding came back. It's many different reasons why adults have them. Sometimes it's a little complicated, but there's always a reason to help fix your bite. I don't think anybody should feel like I'm just going to let it be, especially if it's something that bothers you and you notice it. And it also, if you want to enhance who you are as a person, that's a great way to, without having to do veneers. Because veneers are not always the answer. Because if your bite is messed up and you get veneers, your veneers aren't going to last as long.
That's what I was going to ask you, because
I know that's the new wave. Everybody's getting veneers. I'll say two things, and this is just my opinion. Well, one's my opinion, one is fact. There's nothing like your natural tooth structure. So if your teeth, if you don't have a lot of stains in your teeth, the shape of your teeth is beautiful. Like, I got big teeth, but I realize that they're beautiful. I wouldn't get veneers because I like the natural look. It goes with our face. It goes with our smile. It goes with our aesthetic. Some people are enhanced by veneers, but veneers are not for everyone. And if you have a bite, or let's say you have an underbite and you get veneers, you can easily bite your veneers off, which is a constant thing. You're going to have to constantly get them put that back on. That's a person that probably shouldn't have got veneers first. They probably should have got braces first, or braces in conjunction with oral surgery in order for us to fix your bite. And then you get your veneers if that's what you choose. I mean, everyone's prerogative on what they find, beautiful and attractive. I just like natural teeth. I think it's nothing better than it. I just think a functioning bite. Now, there are cases, again, where I'm like, veneers will be great for you after we fix your bite.
Okay.
Then you'll be all together. You won't have no worries and no issues.
Yeah, because for me, it was like, well, a lot of people are getting veneers now. So it's like, hey, like just cover up the mess.
Yeah, just cover the mess. But then if your mess is really a functioning thing, then we're not covering up. We're kind of putting a Band-Aid on it, and that Band-Aid's going to come off at some point.
Okay.
That's what I say, yeah.
Oh, man. And what's like... And the faces you see from people once they're done with their process, right?
It's always great. Some people keep it in and they get in the car and they be happy.
Yeah.
But we do have some patients that just show us and I'm like, oh, every time I'm like, great, because we work hard in order to get that one reaction. We work really hard as orthodontists. And it's always a misconception that orthodontists is just easy. We just change the colors, but we work really hard to get you what you want. And it's nothing disheartening than you in these braces and then we take them off and you're not happy. You're like, oh, that killed me. That is a day where I'm like, I had a patient today, and, because we're here to give you a great smile. And like I said before, a smile is the aesthetic part that you see. It's who you change as a person because your confidence has increased. That's really what we're seeing, when they smile and they're happy. So.
Excellent. And Dr. Sprowl, I want to thank you again for being on the podcast. Anything that it comes to mind that you think you would say like as a message of like something you think would be important to say or state?
Let me think. I said a lot. I was a little chatty Cathy.
I think that's perfectly fine.
I would say and I always tell people this, just continue pushing the rock forward. People say, just get the ball rolling. The ball is easy because it's rolling. It's off momentum. It's round. It's going to roll down a hill. It won't go up a hill, but it will roll down a hill. It already got the momentum for you. But pushing a rock is a lot harder because it's not smooth. It's jagged. It's hard. It's heavy. And that's what you do when you're an entrepreneur. You're pushing a rock. Sometimes it might roll just a little bit because all the corners aren't so rough, but just continue to keep pushing that rock. Every day, the goal is to push that rock a little bit more and more.
Okay. Well, that's a new philosophy that I was imagining the rock. You're definitely right on that. A ball, whenever it starts rolling,
it just rolls. It's got momentum.
Yeah, it's a little easy.
Yeah, but a rock, you got to keep pushing that thing.
Yeah, carrying that way.
That is the life of an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You got to some days going to be easier to push. Some roads are going to be easier to push on and some are not.
But you
got to keep going and you got to just see your ultimate goal.
And again, Dr. Sprowl, I appreciate it. Everybody who tuned in or stayed this long.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate you. No, and I think everybody that did watch will get something out of it. And I hope to catch you guys on the next one. So, Dr. Sprowl, again, thank you. So,
thank you for having me.
And anybody that wants to get orthodontic service or get to meet this nice lady, Dr. Sprowl, I think is like actually the nicest orthodontist I've met. I used to have one before that used to just yell at me for not wearing my retainers. Dr. Sprout doesn't yell at me, but she will direct me like, hey, you got to wear your retainers. Yeah. Your teeth are going to end up being fucked up. So, so wear it. Dr. Sprout, thank you.
Thank you so much again. I appreciate it.
Guys, hope to catch you guys in the next one. Like, comment, subscribe. And again, if you guys want to get orthodontic services, Dr. Sprout, where are you located?
So we are A-List Smiles Orthodontics. We're located 2510 Vista Drive, right off of Independence and Idlewild, close to 277, 77, 85, 485. Everybody come. Right up the street from East Meck High School. So you guys come check us out. Our exams are complimentary, and you get to meet me.
Catch you guys in the next one.